Welcome back. My name is Dee Ramos, and this is the sixth video of 6. In this video series, we are creating a sign-in and sign-out business application with Power Apps and a few of its components to make sure that app works as smoothly as possible. In this video, we are creating a Power Automate flow to clear out the SharePoint list that holds the information for our sign-in and sign-out visitors. The idea is that on our gallery, on our sign-out screen, there's a caution alert, and that warning is telling us that there is a delegation warning. So if our SharePoint list gets too long, the app is not going to perform to the best of its ability. So we want to keep that list ideally under 500 items. And with this flow, we can always make sure that that's accurate. So if you recall that sign out page, we're talking about the gallery and the caution notice on there. So let's get into the app. So here on the gallery, let's click on that caution. And here we're going to edit in the formula bar, which is telling us to expand here. So if we expand and we look at our formula, we have this brownish squiggles under some of the text. That is what's causing that delegation warning. So here if we have the app checker, here we have that delegation warning. And if you look closely towards the bottom where it says how to fix, it says if your data set exceeds the 500 record limit, but contains less than 2,000 records, try resetting the limit. So you can reset the limit here within Power Apps to 2,000, but I think it's just better to keep that SharePoint list under 500 in the first place to make sure it works. So here within SharePoint, we're going to go into Documents, and we're going to create a new Excel spreadsheet. Within this Excel spreadsheet, we want to pretty much almost recreate that SharePoint list and mirror those same columns. So let's start with ID, visitor name, what company are you with, reason for visit, other reason, sign in time, and sign out time. I'm going to highlight all of these columns and expand them. And next I need to make those columns here a table. So I'm going to highlight, format as a table, and pick any of these formats here. And yes, my table does have a header, so I'll click OK. Let's rename our Excel spreadsheet. Demo, archive, visitor, log, details. Now we're going to navigate to Power Automate, and we're going to create on the left an instant flow. Let's give our flow a name of Demo Clear SharePoint Visitor Log List. We'll pick that manual trigger and create. We're not using Copilot, so I'm going to collapse that, and I'm going to add an action here. So the first action I'm adding is get items from our SharePoint list. And here we're going to point it to the SharePoint list that we have for our demo visitor log. We're going to add another action and control. And what we're doing here is that we're going to say that we only want to get items off of this list that have the sign out time that is filled out. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting in a formula that the sign in time equals to null, meaning it's blank. So if the time out is blank, what do I want it to do? If it's true, I want it to send an email. So we'll add that send email action next. And I'm going to enter my email address for testing. And then I'm going to enter a subject line, alert, with an exclamation, no sign out time for, and let's use dynamic content and enter our visitor name by clicking visitor log. And now let's add body to our message. So the visitor log, which is the name, has not signed out. And let's add some information about this visitor. What is their company? Who were they visiting? And what is the time that they signed in at? So let's use dynamic content to fill in the rest here. So we'll search company and add that. Visiting, so who is this person visiting? We've got the display name, or who are they visiting? And then for the sign out time, we're going to use a function and we're going to fill in a format, date, and time, open parenthesis, and then we're going to add dynamic content. And we're going to find that sign-in time. And now we're going to add a comma right after. And we're going to format that time. So we're going to do capital M, space, dash DD, dash YYY, and then we're going to do capital H's, colon, MM, lowercase. And now we'll add that. So that'll just make it easier to read when we get the email, that format on the time. Are we saving it? And next we're going to add a false action. So if the sign out time is not blank, so meaning there is a sign out time, what do we want the flow to do? We're going to click add an action, and here we're going to search add a row to an Excel online table. Perfect. So now we're going to find that location of the Excel spreadsheet we just created. And we're going to point the flow to that location. So we've got the location, the document library, and the file. And then we're going to add the table name. My Excel spreadsheet only had one table, so I only have one option. Next, we're going to show all, and we're going to point the dynamic content from the SharePoint list to the Excel table. So we want the IDs to match. Visitor name is the visitor log, company name. You can always click see more, and you can see the entire list. We also have reason for visit. Who are you visiting? Make sure we select the display name. Other reason. Here I'm going to type in other. And now for the sign in and sign out time, we're going to use that same expression. So format date and time, open the parentheses, find our sign in time, and then do the same. We'll add that comma, capital M's, 2 lowercase d's, 4 lowercase y's, space, 2 capital H's, colon, 2 lowercase m's. Now let's do that same expression with the sign out time for the dynamic content instead of sign in time. And now add. Great. So now we've got the information from our SharePoint list. We've moved that information, we've copied that same exact information into our Excel table. So now once it's been copied, we no longer need it on the SharePoint list. So we're going to look for delete item from our SharePoint actions. So now we're going to point it again to the SharePoint address with the same list. Make sure we use dynamic content for the ID. And we're saying if you've copied that item, now you can delete that item. So let's go save this flow. And now that it's saved, I'm going to navigate to the SharePoint list. Let's sort this column here. Okay, so we have 4 entries that have sign in and sign out, and we have 2 items that do not have sign out times. So if we click test and we manually test this, we'll make our connections, we'll click continue, and now we're going to run the flow. We'll click done. And now you can see the flow is starting to spin. So if I scroll up a little bit, yep, it was manually triggered. It got the items, and if you focus here in the middle, it says 1 out of 6 because there were 6 items on our list. So it's saying the first item of 6 went down the false path. So it found the sign out time and then added it to our Excel spreadsheet and deleted the item. The second item did the same. The third also had a sign out time. All right, the 4th item did not have a sign out time, so it sent an email. The 5th item sent an email, and the 6th item had a time. So let's go back to my email here, and now you can see the 2 alerts saying, yes, Frank was here, he was visiting Alex, and he signed in at this time. And then here's Tina's information, visiting Dee and her sign-in time. And it does say in the subject line that Tina does not have a sign out time. If we go to Excel spreadsheet, here's those 4 items that were moved off of the list and into the Excel spreadsheet. And lastly, if I go to the SharePoint list and refresh my screen, the 4 items that were copied over to the Excel spreadsheet no longer live in the SharePoint list, and we're down to the 2 items that still are missing timeout times. Thanks for sticking around and watching all of those videos. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out. Even if you have ideas for what the next video series should be, I'd be glad to hear those. So please send those my way and keep on creating.